Idaho Sports Talk with Prater and the Ballgame. These guys are really playing with a sense of urgency today. Mike Prater and Johnny Mallory on Sports Radio 95.3 FM and 1350 AM. The Ticket.
Prater The Ballgame, college football hour continuing. We have $50 from Biscuit and Hogs to give away for Rock Jocks of Pop Culture. A little bit of trivia we'll get into later this hour. Prater, let's go back down to Las Vegas, Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino as Bob Behler again joins the program representing us at Mountain West Media Days. Bob, we just heard your interview with Commissioner Thompson. Well done. I guess I start, Bob. What was your ultimate takeaway from that interview you just had with Commissioner Craig Thompson?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and I think it also was, what I took away from his, address for the season, and that is that he wants to keep the Mountain West playing football at the highest level, and that is his biggest job that he has out there as commissioner. He cannot let the league fall into a position of, where the SEC and the Big 12 basically close it off and don't, play anybody else or don't allow others into the championship series. I think that probably is more important. Now I'm speaking for myself. I think that's more important than keeping any member or adding any member. He needs to keep Boise State's conference, the Mountain West, in the top level of football. How he does it, depending on what the big boys want to do. But I think that, being able to play non-conference games against anybody out there, that's part of it. Being able to compete in a New Year's Six type game or in a playoff situation, he's got to keep the Mountain West relevant. I think that's his number one job, and I think he realizes it.
Bobby also said in the address this morning that he's been contacted from 6 to 12 different institutions about possible realignment, possibly even joining the Mountain West. What were your thoughts on that? And any idea what some of those schools might have been?
I was trying to think that myself. My first reaction was trying to think of the schools. Don't call us, we'll call you. I mean, at this stage, he was talking about geography and, people west of the Rockies, and he named teams. Well, nobody in the Pac-12 is going to look to move. Now, I mean, maybe somebody in the end, if the league blows up, you might be able to get what's left. So who's thinking of moving in? Nobody in the Big 12 would be thinking of moving in because they've got a better situation. So now you're looking at maybe somebody from the Conference USA, the Sun Belt, the American. I don't know. Does somebody in the Big Sky? We've seen, lately teams move up from FCS. It seems like that happens all the time. I mean, would you fielded a call from one of the Montana schools? I don't know, but I don't think it's anybody right now that in my guess, if you're saying, who do you think would have reached out? I don't know. They didn't do anything the last time around. They kept the 12 they have. I don't know. I don't know what's out there if things don't get blown up.
Bob Behler live from Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Mountain West Media Days. We're going to do it again all day tomorrow as this sucker continues for the next 24 hours. Bob, you talked about Craig Thompson wanting to play football at the highest level. He also talked about keeping an eye on the landscape, and Johnny just asked about 6 to 12 schools expressing some interest. Do you think if we put all this together, can the Mountain West play at the highest level of football if they stay status quo with the 12 teams they have now?
Yes, I think they can. I think the big thing is that in order for that to happen, I think the Pac-12 probably needs to stick around. The ACC needs to stick around. I think the landscape needs to be kind of similar to what it is. But if the if the Big Ten all of a sudden poaches, say, 4 more teams and the SEC gets 4 more teams, and they basically decide we want to have a 2-conference club and nobody else matters, then I think he'll have a hard time. But I think as long as the other leagues stay viable, maybe, sort of a tier down from the Big Ten and the SEC, I think this league can stay. And I think it probably has a pretty good chance of staying intact too.
He talked about it in one of his media sessions, or maybe it was he stated the address about the Mountain West is the only league in the West that's providing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night programming. And he says his message to Fox is, quote, pay us more. Let's not dive deep into the weeds of television negotiations, but do you think if the Mountain West stays status quo moving forward, they could be more valuable in TV eyes? And how would you see that?
Yeah, I think they can. And I think it's because you really don't have that many options if you want later night football. I don't see an East Coast game kicking off at 10 or 11 o'clock.
No.
I don't think that's happening. So I think you are offering a programming window. And I think Boise State has been the king at filling those time slots over the years. Their numbers, when you look at the 8 o'clock games, I think that's part of the reason Boise State gets more money out of the conference pot, because Boise State has been a proven revenue and ratings generator, at that 8 o'clock Thursday night, Friday night, or Saturday night. When I mean 8 o'clock, I mean 8 o'clock local time, 10 o'clock Eastern time. No, I think that, and especially if the Pac-12, if that league were to basically split up and the league would divide up into different conferences, he would have the only Western-based conference, because several more might go into the Big Ten. Several more would probably go into the Big 12. And my guess is that the third group that is left would probably end up getting into the Mountain West.
Boise State play-by-play broadcaster Bob Behler from Las Vegas here on our College Football Hour. Prater in the ball game. Bob, tell me about this. The last time Boise State went to the New Year's Six was 14. No other Mountain West team has been there since. That's the last time a Mountain West logo has been on a jersey of a team playing in a New Year's Six bowl game. What is the importance this year that the Mountain West kicks that damn door down and gets back on that stage? It's been the better part of a decade.
Well, I think a lot of people realize that the Mountain West has a lot of good depth, but I think that the American has been able to cash in with the hot team of the year, whether it be a UCF or a Memphis or someone like that, Houston, Cincinnati. I think the Mountain West, especially with Cincinnati leaving and UCF leaving, I think the Mountain West really needs to establish itself as the top group of 5 conference. And I think the way to do that not only is to have a good conference across the board, win some non-conference games, but I do think they need to get into the New Year's Six. Now, who gets in a lot of times is a beauty contest, because many years somebody might have a 10-1 record in one league and somebody might have a 10-1 record in another league. So you've got to be able to, put yourself out there at the beginning of the season, non-conference games, make yourself look good. But you also need some help from the rest of your conference, because as the season moves along, if let's say Boise State wins the Mountain West and gets to be in the position to be thought about for a New Year's Six game. If Fresno State had beaten USC earlier in the season, they do play, and Boise State knocks off Fresno, it's like the old game Pac-Man. You ever play the game Pac-Man when you gobble up others? If the others are doing better and you gobble them up, your score is going to be a lot better.
Bob Behler, Craig Thompson, and other media members today talking a little bit about the CFP format. We're all holding out hope that somewhere down the road, there can be. Was there any talk today that stuck with you in terms of any hope that the Mountain West could be part of a potential CFP playoff down the road? What kind of message was Craig Thompson preaching about that today?
Well, the thing I took from it is that he was, lamenting the fact that the committee that he was on, a small committee of a good cross-section of college football, came up with an idea that seemed like it had something for everyone, was fair, would have made an awful lot of money. The 6 automatics and the 6 at-large qualifiers. And it was torpedoed by the Alliance. And, I don't know. I thought you couldn't come up with anything better. I thought that was the best plan that I had heard, because if you won your league, it had value. If you were a good team, you could get in there as an at-large. And it also rewarded the little guys, because at least one of the, non-power 5s got in, group of 5s got in for sure. And maybe if one of the power 5s had a bad year, maybe you could even get 2 in. So I think that I think everybody realized it's kind of back to the drawing board. And, he stressed in one of the things that we don't have a playoff. I think it was for 26, I think is what he said, whatever the year it runs out, that there is nothing on the table. So as of now, there is no playoff coming up when the contract expires. They'll have to come up with something else.
Bob, what do you think is going to be the genesis of Craig Thompson and the Mountain West seeking expansion? Is it the Pac-12 blowing up? Is it what? I mean, you remember when this league was founded, it was essentially Craig Thompson rating the best teams they felt the WAC had and starting their own thing and trimming some of the fat the WAC had at that point. I mean, is there, a Memphis, an SMU, a UTSA, a UAB, I don't know, those Conference USA teams? What do you think is going to cause Craig Thompson, if anything, to look to expand and not let another domino drop before he makes a move, but for him just to go out and make a move?
Well, I think, first of all, you got to go back to when the WAC had 16 teams. The original people, basically, that started the WAC, those schools thought there were too many. So they went out as a group and started the conference. Mike Prater, you might know a little more, but am I more on the right track on that?
Yes, sir.
That's what had happened.
Yes.
So they started a league. They broke off because they thought there were too many.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you're going to have to be careful of getting too many. I also think it's going to be a matter of, what if you go after somebody, and I'd say this is true for any league, are they going to bring more to the table so that you can split with the others? And I think they'll have to look and see. I mean, could Memphis be that? But does Memphis want to be in a conference that is basically west of probably where they recruit their students from? And I don't mean just athletes. I'm talking about the kids they get to go to school there. Schools want to play in geographic footprints where they can use it to their advantage to get students enrolled. So I think it's going to be interesting. I agree. I think he's in a waiting position. I don't know that there's anything that he can do with the Mountain West. I do think that, like I said to him in the interview, every school has its own agenda. If somebody's going to get big money to go to a Power 5, there's nothing that the others in the Mountain West are going to be able to do about it. So the Mountain West has an agenda, which is the survival and the thriving of the league. And then every other school has their own individual agenda. So I think it's going to be interesting, but I don't think that they'll be able to do anything until, some more dominoes fall for them.
And nor do I think that they want to. Craig Thompson said today, and if you take it out of context, it's very negative to what he said, and I'm sure the angst of fans, but he said, we don't have to do anything. And so fans are going to say, Craig Thompson's just playing golf and chasing, hotel rooms and resort golf courses. Craig Thompson is in a position where he doesn't have to do anything. And to answer your question, Johnny, here's how I would say it. The Mountain West doesn't have to do anything until a television network stands up and says, Craig Thompson, you need to invite this team because it's going to bring more value to your conference. And I don't think that team exists, which is exactly why Craig Thompson says, I don't think we have to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair point. Bob, we appreciate you. We'll check back in about 45 minutes. So don't go hitting the blackjack table just yet.
Wait, I could go there, Johnny, as long as I made a quick killing and came back, right?
Absolutely. Don't listen to Johnny. He knows better.
Okay. All right, Bob. Take your chances, man. Lay $100 down, see what you get. We'll see what we'll ask for the report when we bring you back on in 45 minutes to see if you're up or down. Thanks, Bob.
He already left.
Yeah, didn't even wait around for the end there, man. I love it, man. That's Bob Behler. Good stuff with Commissioner Thompson for our college football hour. We're 30 minutes away from Andy Avalos on this program, and we'll talk to Bob Behler again following his conversation with Andy Avalos. The Boise Hawks got a big game, the biggest game of the season tonight. JP will tell you why when we come back on Prater and the Ballgame.
This is Idaho Sports Talk with Prater and the Ballgame on Sports Radio 95.3 FM and 1350 AM.